the Brookdale shows up, the Sunrise shows up.
Yeah.
They're the ones with the commercials and the billboards and the this and the that. But then you go there and you're like, this is terrible. And COVID shined a big old nasty light on them, exposing the neglect and the abuse and the cruelties that are happening in those facilities. And people started ripping their loved ones out of those homes, begging to come into our smaller care homes.
Yeah.
We saw for the first time a massive increase in the RAL industry and a decrease in the regular assisted living facility business. And at their conventions, their big box conventions, all of a sudden we were the most popular girl in the room. They were like, oh my gosh, what are you guys doing? How do we be like you? And it all comes down to one thing. They care about money first, and we care about impact first, money second. It's the do good, do well balance, and all they care about is one thing, money at the end of the day.
Isabelle, it is such an honor to have you on the Profit First REI podcast. I'm really excited. Your dad poured into me for when I was first launching the book, and I will never forget that. And I miss him, and he was thankfully a very big fan of like the show. I think he was like one of the first people to record on this podcast when I did it, just like out of a back room. God bless him. He probably thought like, what the heck is going on here? So Isabelle, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm so grateful to full circle moment for you there.
It is a full circle. I'm like, it just literally hit me. I'm like, I just got to share this because this is so awesome. But you have really taken the reins. You've taken the reins and you've really run with it. I can tell. So for people that don't know you, talk about like residential assisted living, what you're into now. We'll go into the nitty gritties, but just give them a background.
Yeah. So we teach and train people how to own and operate residential assisted living homes for seniors. That's what we do ourselves. And my father passed to me, and now we teach thousands of people to do that all across the country, how to do good and do well.
I have a testimonial for you. This is so cool how the timing works. I was at an event last week that I was asked to speak at, and Eddie McCracken was there. Do you know Eddie? And
yes,
yeah, Eddie's incredible. And I've known him for years, and I knew him before he started his first one. And like, he took me out there when he was breaking ground, and then he's got 2 of them now. I mean, It's been years later, and I'm like, this is awesome. Then he gave a full presentation, and like, he's like, oh, I'm not a presenter. And then he gets up there. I'm like, this is awesome. I love it.
What did he do? He did good.
Oh, he did great talking about it. And then, but it was cool. That was a full circle moment, because then he was like the video walkthroughs and like helping, the people that are actually there. And he talked about starting this in the middle of COVID, like the exact worst year to start it, but it took him longer to fill them. But he said it was still worth it to go through all of that. And he's like, I'm, non-traditional, and like the way that I get people in the door, and like that really helped. And, and then he said he opened the second one, and within like, I think he said 3 or 4 months had it completely full. And I'm like, boom, this is so good. And yeah, I just want to give you that testimonial because it came right from there, and I got to see his full journey, and he's still out there preaching it, teaching it, helping it that on the RAL side. So I had to share that real quick at the front. So as Isabelle is talking about what she's doing, I've seen this work in like someone that I know personally, and like houses that I grew up, in that area where he took them, converted or built. And it was so cool to be able to see that. So sorry, but I just wanted to throw that in before I forgot that. But I'd love for you to talk about, okay, where does someone start with this? Does someone do this if they're adding to their exit strategies? If they're a real estate investor, can they jump in if they're W-2? Like, when's a good time to start thinking about this, the residential assisted living?
We often find that people come and they say, I'm going to add this to my portfolio. Whatever I'm doing, this is going to be one of the things I add. Oh. And then they get into the cash flow, and then they start to fall in love with the industry, and almost everybody sells most everything else they're doing and goes all in on this. So it kind of tricks you in that way, because a lot of people really fall in love with the opportunity. But we present it as an opportunity for you to not only own and operate the real estate and be building equity and holding this property long term, but also to be cash flowing monthly off of it because you are running a business. There's seniors living in the home 24/7, getting that, attention from the caregivers. So you're building equity, you're cash flowing. And if you ever do want to sell, you can and cash out really big, or you can hold this as a play for your own kids and pass it to them as a blessing, a cash flowing hands-off business that you're spending 5 to 10 hours a week on, that's a really cool thing. You could stay in it too if you ever need care and assistance. So there's kind of a lot of plays to be had along the way.
I love one of the things he said at the event because I think he took it either from you or from the community, that he had said that at one point in your life you're going to touch assisted living. Like
Mhm.
it's going to touch you, whether it's a parent, whether it's you in the future, whether it's someone that's right there now, that you're dealing with. So I thought that was so interesting. But then I also like what you just said there. You're not just creating a business of assisted living, you're owning the real estate portion. So it's like you're teaching people how to be a true investor. Because how
Yeah.
many people do you know out there, Isabel, that are like they're wholesaling and just flipping, but that we know that's not true investing. Like you're not really investing in getting the long term or building a sellable business. I want you even said there one day you could cash in if you really wanted to, because I feel like one of these places are just like a business, and that's where
Yes.
you really get into it. So I'm talking too much. I'm just excited about what you're bringing to the market and like that. I got to see it like in action last week. And it was so exciting to see that. But do you want to go into what's the difference between why would I put, what's the difference between assisted living and like a community home or village or retirement or like, something like that?
Yeah, the biggest difference is between a big box, as we call them. So your Brookdale Sunrise Atria, those large,
Yeah.
commercial units with long hallways. Those are the ratios are really, really off, meaning there's no state or national limit on how many seniors one caregiver can oversee.
Oh,
So
wow.
you'll often find that the ratio is 30 seniors to one caregiver. And that is not okay. One person cannot take care of 30 people. So in our homes, we recommend a 4-to-1 or a 5-to-1 ratio. And that really allows the seniors to get that level of quality care. They're paying the exact same, but the quality of care is vastly different because the caregivers have an opportunity to actually serve those seniors, to be with them and to help them and get to know them by their names, not call them by their room number, which is often what happens in those larger facilities. It's night and day difference.
Okay. Well, I want to go into like the benefits for sure of
Yeah.
all of this, but let's first, if you don't mind, like what's the biggest pushbacks you get from people? Because it's like senior living. Do I have to be certified? Is there like a license for this? Or I'm sure that's one of the big ones because that was something that Eddie covered there. But there was also other things as well too. I just love to know what are the biggest pushbacks you get from someone because especially like you said, if they've got a bunch of things they're doing in real estate, like why would I get into this? And like what are these huge hurdles that I have to go through?
Yeah, some of the biggest things that people, have misconceptions around are exactly that, the licensing.
Okay.
You yourself, you are not licensed. The physical home has a license based on points of egress, square footage, safety and emergency factors. You're hiring a licensed administrator who is running all of the day to day within the home. Think of them kind of as the property manager. So they do the hiring, firing, training, retaining of your caregivers. They do, dealing with the state and making sure that everything's up to code. They sometimes market to fill the beds. Unless you want to do those things yourself, you're hiring that person to do that. Then you're hiring licensed caregivers. So the home has a license, your administrator has a license, and the caregivers have a license, but you yourself don't necessarily have a license. And I like that. I don't like to be licensed because I don't want to get that call when a caregiver no shows. Nope. My administrator gets that call. She's got to find another caregiver to fill the shift or do it herself. I'm not even allowed to fill the shift. So if you want to build yourself a business to be hands off and to truly sit in the owner's box, you've got to set it up that way from the start. Not, oh, I'm going to work in the home and I'll work myself out of it. That doesn't work, right? Many people then get trapped 5, 6, 7 years down the road and they're still working in the home. They're living in the home. That's not what we do. And that's not what we show people how to do. We show you how to set up your business the right way from day one so that you can be cash flowing and you can be more passive, but you're still getting all those benefits all the way.
Awesome. Yeah, I do want to talk about the benefits because I feel like there are so many to go over. And before we go into that, just one other question is if they're a real estate investor, let's say they've got a rental portfolio, do they have is there ever situations where you can convert an existing property or do you always have to build these?
No, so Eddie, who you met, he likes to custom build. And that's one of the four ways that you can get started: buying land and custom building. The second way is buying a single family home, just like you're talking about, maybe something you already have in your portfolio, and converting it to become an RAL. The third way is leasing a home to use for this. So someone else has retrofit the home, they've already got it ready to go, and you're going to lease it from them to run the business in their home. And the fourth way is to buy an existing RAL. You're buying the real estate, buying the business, you're up and running, cash flowing day one. So most of our students, they actually do that second option. They buy a single family and convert it to become, because they already have something in their portfolio that's not performing in the way that it would or could be. And this is that opportunity to kind of turn it around.
So what are those opportunities? Let's go into the benefits, like the cash flow and the owning the real estate, all the things that you've mentioned. It is a business as well too. So what are the things, the biggest things that you see as the benefits that, working with a REO?
The biggest draw for a lot of people right up front is that incoming cash flow every month, right? Depending on where you are in the country, you're going to be allowed to have somewhere between 6 and 16 residents in the home. So every state is a little different. And here in Arizona, I'm limited to 10. I think in Eddie's homes, he has 16, I believe it is. So he's at the higher end. If we're out, in California or something like that, where they're limited to 6 residents, it really ranges. But the average rates in the homes in our country today is $5,500 per month per resident. That's average. So that includes our friends on government funding as well as our private pay friends. Now, we only focus on private pay. So the average being 55, oftentimes you're seeing rates of six, seven, eight, $9,000 a month for a senior to live in one of these homes. So let's just use average though. If you had 10 residents paying $5,500 a month, that's 55,000 coming in every single month. Your mortgage, depending on where you are in the country and the cost of everything today, it'll probably be 10 grand a month, give or take, right? Some markets it may be more, some it may be less, but let's call it 10. To run the home, to pay for your staff and your utilities, activities, food, cable, internet, you name it, liability insurance, all those things. On an average home, it will probably run you about $35,000 a month. That's leaving you with the care home owner operator $10,000 a month of cash flow. So that's kind of a very basic example. We see what Eddie's doing all the time, where it's closer to that $20,000 number because rates are higher, or you're allowed to have more residents, or all sorts of different factors. But it can really get pretty crazy. The more residents you can have, and certain states, certain areas, their resident rates are significantly higher. But that 10,000 is kind of a very average basic example. You can achieve that in almost all markets.
No, that's pretty awesome. And then that's where, if you see it work one time, like Eddie, we'll just keep using him, where he builds a second house, where it's like, yeah, it's working here. Want to build another one, and then you're just doubling, because now you've got the experience, all of that, and then you're just like, okay, now you've got that to be able to go and do it again. And I forgot if he was buying another lot, or I think he has a lot right next door and was building another one. So he's like on number 3 that he's doing as well too. So I just love the whole concept. Okay. But then if someone wants to learn about this, you also have the academy, correct? And you've got lots of different things. You've got the online training, you've got the in-person, like the events that you host as well too. Can you talk about how do you train people to get to the point where Eddie is?
Yeah, we have both of those options, online as well as in-person trainings here in Phoenix, Arizona, where we really go through step by step. We show you how to find the homes. We work through all 4 of those methods I just shared earlier, how to fund the homes, raise capital for this so you don't have to use your own money to get started in these deals. We also talk about hiring the staff. How do you hire those right people and put them in the right seats so that you can be hands off? We go through licensing, memory care, how to run a remote operations, because 31% of care home owners are remote owners. So they own a home not where they live. It's another state or another city, not where they are. So we kind of go through everything A to Z so that you really have an all-encompassing understanding and knowledge so you can go out and hit the ground running and really get one of these up and running, and then scale, build that 3-pack that, so many of our students like to do, because you can share your resources so much better. It's not full time for an administrator to oversee one home. It's typically full time for them to oversee 2 to 4. So having that 3-pack is a really good way to be able to pay them more, and they're fully working for you in one ecosystem of being able to have 3 homes. You're spending money to market and fill these homes anyways. And once you're full, okay, you're full now, right? But you need to keep marketing because these seniors don't live forever. The average stay in a care home is 3.5 years. So you are needing to refill the beds, not, every year like a single family or a multifamily, but you still need to continue that marketing. So the more beds you have, kind of the easier it is to share those resources.
Do you have some just marketing tips that you would share there of like, how do people find, people to be able to go in here where they are marketing for a house versus, like you said, the big box?
Yes. When a senior falls and breaks their hip or their dementia progresses too far, their family starts to typically work with what's called a placement agent. It's basically a realtor for assisted living.
Yeah.
They work with the family completely for free. And the family tells them these are the amenities, these are the price points, these are the things that we're looking for. The family then, or the care, or I'm sorry, the placement agent goes out and tours with the family different homes that match that criteria. If the family chooses your home, you have a contract with that placement agent where you pay them the first month's rent. Sometimes it's less, like half of the first month's rent, but many times these placement agents, it's the entire first month. So if that's $7,000, you're writing them a check for 7K, but this senior is now going to live with you for an average of 3.5 years. So you're paying for speed by filling those beds. So placement agents is a great marketing tip. Also having all the regular strategies that you would for most any other business, like having a website, having Facebook. Some of our students do an excellent job with Facebook marketing. They really create a buzz and a culture of what their home is, and they get people to say, I want my dad there. That looks so much fun. And if you don't have an online presence, people don't know about you. So there's pay for play where you can be doing SEO and this type of stuff. There's also just having a presence in the community, doing local farmers markets, dealing with hospice agents, geriatric doctors and nurses, elder law attorneys, all those different people. And then there's also placement agents who their whole job is to fill your beds. So there's kind of a multitude of options.
That placement agent is pretty cool. I didn't know about that one because, yeah,
Yes.
it's obviously that's pretty cool that, yes, any type of marketing would work, doing the website, doing all that Facebook and the social media presence. But then, yeah, having an actual source of people that, bring people to you is another great one. It sounds a little bit like wholesaling, but like not to be crass, but it's like wholesaling where they're the middleman, they're the broker to be like, here, I've got someone that really needs a place to stay, and then you've got the nice place to stay for them, and then they're just making sure that they can fill that. So that's a pretty cool way. I know Eddie does a lot of the social media. He says he's
Yes.
basically a Facebook machine, in that. So he'd be a good example if you want to go out there. His name's Eddie McCracken. If you want to go out there and view what he's doing, he's a great testimonial for what they're doing, and the way that he attracts the right people to his place as well too. So
Yeah.
this is great. I love learning about this, what you're doing, how you're teaching it, how you're going out there and making a difference. Sounds like, because this is the Profit First REI podcast, you're not just teaching them how to make the money, because I feel like the make part is like that $55,000 a month that they get. That's it. That's pretty significant, making, $600,000, $700,000 a year, on one place. That's not, something to sneeze at. Then you're teaching them, but the cash flow too, like 10,000 is the average. It's like, if you can get there, you're really keeping a lot too. I don't like just focusing on the make, but are they keeping the money? But
Yeah.
then it seems like there's also the play of the two other ones of you own the real estate and it is like a business. So would you say that, like an individual location, would you treat it like a business, like its own standalone? This is a business, and I could sell this one unit almost like at a multiple or something, because it's got recurring revenue. It's got everything that it needs in order to be like the sellable business function. It seems like.
Yeah, there are 30,000 of these group homes across the country. So
Yeah.
buying an existing one is definitely a way that you can get involved. So if you're on the opposite end and you want to sell your business, it's the cost of the real estate plus 2 to 5 times the EBITDA. That's how these are valued.
Okay.
Many times you'll get a broker who comes in who gives some astronomical number and they don't know how to value these, but we've gone through thousands of deals with our students and know exactly how to value them. And it usually falls around that 3 to 4 times the EBITDA, but sometimes it could be lower, sometimes it could be higher. What you're really basing it off of is, are the beds full? And if the home is cash flowing, what those margins look like. So that's where we get that number for the valuation of the business.
So when you do the 3 to 4 times, does that kind of include that you're buying the real estate as part of the business? Like, or
Well,
would they
real estate's a
separate?
separate transaction.
Oh, see, that's so cool. See, I love that that's a separate transaction. So you're double dipping.
Do double dipping. So you've been building equity in that real estate. You bought it at 8 and it's now worth, 1.4 or whatever it is because you've held it for so many years. You've done additions and renovations and improved it. The real estate's one side, but also the business is another, because sometimes you'll have people who just want to buy the business and you still own the real estate.
I was going to ask that. So there are people that do that still. They own the real estate, but they'll sell the actual business portion on it.
Yeah. And then this person is paying them, right, to lease the home from them. So now they're still making money from their tenant, which is the RAL operations company. So there's a ton of ways you can get involved in this.
Yeah, no kidding. Like if you're out there in real estate and you're wondering about this, it's out. There's so many different ways to make money, but not just that, to keep the money and like to be able to, you still own the real estate, but you sell the business portion of it. Like people are always saying, "Oh, can't sell my business because I'm, flipping," or even if you have rentals, you're selling the portfolio. Like you're building a business alongside with real estate, and you're just owning the real estate, and you could sell it or not. I think this is awesome. And the more that I'm getting to learn about it and get to know it and like see it in person, all the different things you can do with it. Let me ask this. Do you see that, because you as a family have been doing this for how many years? How many years has it
We
been?
purchased our first care home about 14 years ago and have been training for the last 10.
14 years, 2010. What I was going to ask is, do you see this being recession proof? I mean, everyone needs a place to stay all the time.
Yeah. In 2008 and even in 2020 during COVID, two different situations. But, we have seen that senior housing statistically has stayed solid and stayed good because you are, just like you mentioned in the beginning, you're betting on the inevitable, right? Like, I always joke with people, I'm like, raise your hand if you're getting older or know someone who is, right? Like, we're all aging, and the odds are is that 7 out of 10 people will need care for an average of 3.5 years. So more than likely, you're going to need care and assistance to some degree, to some level. Now, if you need help with more than 3 activities of daily living, ADLs, which means getting up, bathing, toileting, eating, transferring, walking, all these different things. If you need help with 3 or more, you have to go to assisted living. So the odds that you're going to need that start to increase over time. And this is kind of an inevitable thing. So we've seen that it stayed steady through, all sorts of different economics ups and downs. And in COVID 2020, you mentioned that he got started then. It was very interesting because what we saw was, for me, a very positive thing. We've been shouting from the rooftops that smaller is better. Smaller is better. These care homes, you're getting quality care at the smaller level. But people aren't aware because there's not a big sign when you drive by. It looks like a regular residential home. We don't have the millions of dollars to be number one when you're Google searching assisted living in my area. The Brookdale shows up. The Sunrise shows up. They're the ones with the commercials and the billboards and the this and the that. But then you go there and you're like, this is terrible. And COVID shined a big old nasty light on them, exposing the neglect and the abuse and the cruelties that are happening in those facilities. And people started ripping their loved ones out of those homes, begging to come into our smaller care homes.
Yep.
We saw for the first time a massive increase in the RAL industry and a decrease in the regular assisted living facility business. And at their conventions, their big box conventions, all of a sudden we were the most popular girl in the room. They were like, oh my gosh, what are you guys doing? How do we be like you? And it all comes down to one thing. They care about money first, and we care about impact first, money second. It's the do good, do well balance. And all they care about is one thing, money at the end of the day. So this is just a factory for them. And
Yeah.
for us, we're doing this because we love seniors and we want them to have quality care and assistance that they so deserve, that every human deserves towards the end of life. And you feel that difference when you walk into the buildings.
Yeah, and it makes sense too. I even your comparison of how many caregivers versus how many residents that they take care of, big box versus one of the homes, it's like that's just a telltale sign right there
Yeah.
of like what's happening. But no, that's incredible. That's why I want to ask too. It seems like this is something that if you get into it, yes, the markets are going to affect it, but they're not going to like it seems like this can be pretty much recession proof for what you're trying to do because of that type of stuff, and because what COVID did and shine that light on these bigger type boxes. So this is awesome. I really appreciate all the information here. Is there any other things that you want to share before, like I point people to your direction? Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience?
If you're listening and this is like ticking some boxes for you, maybe you have a loved one who needs care and assistance, or you're starting to think about that, or you have real estate that's just not working with the same old strategies and you're interested, definitely look more into it, and don't be afraid, because there are so many people who are doing this successfully. You just need to know the right steps to do it. So don't jump whether or not you want to come learn with us. It doesn't matter. Learn with someone and learn those steps to take, because there's no HGTV show on this for a reason, right? Like there's a lot of steps involved and these are people's lives at stake. But if this sounds exciting and interesting to you, you know, take action and move forward and dig in a little bit deeper to see if this is the right path for you.
Oh man, that would be great if you got an HGTV show. I think you guys can make it fun and exciting with what you guys have built.
They've
Yeah,
called, but the problem is once we explain to them how long, some of these
yeah,
projects are, it's not the same. There's so many more steps than,
right,
there's a reason that you've got 12-year-olds on YouTube doing fix and flips and,
right, yeah,
wholesales and stuff like this. I'm not saying like every 12-year-old can do it. I'm just saying they exist, right?
right, exactly.
So assisted living, you don't see that. You
No,
see like, people who really are willing to jump through the hoops and do what it takes, because the cash flow is great, but it's not easy by any
yeah.
means. There are a lot of steps to take to do it appropriately and responsibly.
So how can they learn those steps with you? What's a good place to get started?
Yeah, a great place to start is RAL101.com. You can grab a free webinar, free book, schedule a call with me or the team. There's a little free mini training for you there as well. And if you're serious about taking action, come on out to Phoenix and come to our 3-day training. We'd love to have you out here. But RAL101.com is a great place to start.
And one-on-one, is that with the number one?
101, like 101,
Uh,
like
101.
algebra 101,
One. Okay, very cool. So there we go. I like it. I was in my head to looking at for the one-on-one with that thing. So that's where I wasn't making the disconnect. So it's RAL 101.
101. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Good stuff. That's where, if you want to get started, that's a great place to get started. I can't endorse them any more than I already have here on this episode. Like, it was so cool to see Eddie last week and see it come to fruition, where I can see that if you're doing that, if you're going through, if you're actually, and he listens, he's someone that goes in there and listens and just does what they tell him to do. And he's making the money, but he's making an impact. It's like he's making that impact in those lives, and then he's wanting to do more of it. Like he loves it. So I'm like, this is where I don't care where you are on your journey. This might be something that can help you. This might be a long-term play. Like she said, this could be a now thing, but then a forever thing, with your family or because this is not just real estate. It's also a business. It's like you're building a business as well too. So this could be generational that you're doing. So RAL101.com. Go there, sign up, look for the stuff, get some training, make sure that you know what you're doing before you get into this, because like she said, it's lots of steps, and I can't endorse anyone more than I can them. So Isabelle, thank you for being on today and for sharing this with people, because I think there's a lot of value that you brought here.
Thanks for having me.
And if you are out there listening to this and you're like, this is great, but I have no money, or like I'm making money, but I feel broke, that's where you can sign up, simplecfo.com, schedule a call with us, and we'll be like, here's how you create the cash flow, and here's how you get started. Like, so that way you can go down there and make sure that you're getting the training that you need from the RAL Academy as well, too. But thank you again. Thank you for listening. Remember to make profit a habit in your business.
This episode of the Profit First for REI podcast is over, but there are plenty more where that came from. Are you ready to learn how David and his team can help implement the Profit First system in your business? Schedule a discovery call at simplecfo.com right now. We'll see you next time on the Profit First for REI podcast with David Richter.